Ooh, you are now in charge. You are now CEO. 250. Whoops, that's 25. 250. And what's going to be here? Equals what? Previous cell times parentheses 1 plus $sign C $sign, whoops, 6, end parentheses, done. Right? Yes? Easy. So we like the dollar signs because then we can drag. You know what, Evan? I'm going to guess here and say you like this job. And I'm going to leave you in this job for 10 years till you're 50 years old. Look at that. You did pretty well. You're CEO till you're 50. Guess what happens now, Evan? I have bad news for you. Yeah, you're CEOs. You're not CEO anymore. You did 10 years though, buddy. That was good. Now you're going to take a part-time job that's much more fun. Like, let's say you're going to take a part-time job doing something silly like teaching. How about that? What do teachers make now, Evan? Well, this is 51 years. This is you're 20 today. This is 30 years into the future, right? So we have to be realistic. If we make 60 grand here today, right, what would it be in the future? So the way we can do that, we just go over to a cell here and we start thinking about it. So what do we want to do? We want this cell to equal the future value, parentheses, of what? The rate. Let's say the rate is of teacher pay is probably 0.03. How many payments per year? One payment for how many years? Let's say 32, or I'm sorry, 30 years. And what's the payment? The payment's 0. And what's the present value? How much do teachers make today? They make like $60,000 a year. Whoops. End parentheses, enter, $145,000. So if you make $60,000 a year now, and your pay goes up at, what did I say, 5%? 3%. Goes up 3% for 20 years. You'll be making $145,000. Do you see how I calculated the future value of what a teacher will make? Because if I put in today's value, it makes no sense, right? Because this is 30 years into the future. Okay, so now we did that really easily right on the spreadsheet. Didn't take any time. Do we put in here a negative 145? No, what do we put in there? Just 145, 636. Now, if we care about this formula and we want to make sure we have a record of it, we can just copy, and then we take it all the way to the bottom of the spreadsheet, where we have notes, and we just say, formula for teacher salary, and we just paste it in there. Whoops. Where to go? Copy, and go back to the notes, and paste. So now I've got a record of how I come up with that number. I've got a little note of it if you want to keep the note. Sometimes you want to keep the note, sometimes you don't. But now you know where that number came from. In fact, you could just reference that cell in here yourself if you wanted to. Up to you. So we hit escape and get out of that. We delete this. And now we have 145. And you're going to be a teacher, Evan, for another 10 years. And that's only going to go up at 3%. So I'm going to have a different multiplier here. This is 5% here. I'm going to put a new multiplier in. I'm going to put it under income up above it, which is 0.03, because teacher salaries don't go up as fast as corporate salaries. So now we're going to be in here at equals this cell times parentheses 1 plus $C $5, enter, and that moves us up at 3%, and you're going to be a teacher, Evan. Good for you, buddy. Nice way to give back to the community till you're 65. At which point you're going to retire. So I'm going to go back and, whoops, stop. I'm going to go back, and highlight the cells under teaching. which are here, and I'm going to turn them a color. What's your teaching color, Evan? Green, because it's freedom, right? And your working years, these 10 years as the CEO, are what? They're rough, so they're red. How about red? And then these other years that you've got in between, which is getting your path to the CEO-ship, is caution in yellow. Okay, so now if I bring this down and make it smaller so you can see more of it. Whoops, not too small. You can see visually what's going on in your life, right? So what do? We started out as a student, we got our first job, then we've got our formidable years of finding out how to get into our career. Then we've got a good long executive career, top management career wherever we are. And then we've got a longer time, because we were an executive, of doing something that we enjoy, which would be teaching, but we don't necessarily have to be grinding it out on the work trail of being a CEO, which is very, very hard work. So we got that, and now we hit retirement, right? So we're going to get to retirement. Here, let me zoom in. We have retirement at 66, or your 65th year, and guess what you're going to make in retirement, Evan? That's right. You're back where you started, buddy. 0. So now we have no money in retirement coming in, and that's going to be true all the way across the rest of your life, because you're supposed to have saved enough for the rest of your life. So we can see how much money's coming in over our life. And now we have to start thinking about how to save it, right? So one of the things is a 401k contribution. 401k contributions, as you probably know, are directly deducted from your paycheck, and you save them until you retire, or you enter 65, or maybe by the time you're at that age, it'll be 67 or 70 or something older than that, but we're just going to say 65 for now. And so you want to save something out of your pay. Do you want to save a lot out of your pay, Evan, or a little? In between, okay. So what percentage do you want to save every month or every year out of your pay? 10%. 10%, that's a lot, okay. So 10% is good. So what we're going to do, how would we put that in here? This is the 401k contribution line. We go over here to your first year, and you're going to put in 10% into it. How do we write that up? Equals, right? First of all, your contribution at 10%, your multiplier should be 0.10. Whoops. .10, that's your contribution, yeah? And we're going to turn this into a percentage. We're going to change this one too while we're here to a percentage, so it makes visual sense to us. And then we're going to go over here, and we're going to turn this cell into equals this cell, which is your income, times what? Or this cell, right? And then we want to drag this, right? So we want to drag this. So we don't want it to be just C7. What do we want it to be? We want it to be $C, $7, right? Enter, and now we know what it is.